producers, it's Ozgun here. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the massive support on my latest release, Wake Up. Even Hardwell picked the track for his weekly favorite, and that means a lot of to me. So this week I'd like to show you how I made the track, how I made the Wake Up. If you still didn't listen to the track, I'm gonna put a link in the description. It's released on Will Sparks' label Clubwrk. The track is played on several festivals and got a really nice reaction from the crowd. So yeah, today I'd like to show you step by step how I produced the track. And if you're ready, let's get into that tutorial. So I'm not gonna play the full track, you can listen it if you still didn't. So I like to start explaining the project by starting from the LFO Build Up section. I already made a tutorial about how to make this kind of unique LFO transitions in Vital. And I'm gonna put a card, so if you still didn't watch it, you can watch that one out. But first, maybe I can just show you how I made this section. So let's disable Endless Smile for now, so I can demonstrate you more properly. All I did was getting the Vital. I rendered my kick and bass, if I play it. This is just my drop kick and bass as a render. It's just like 4 bars or something. And I load this one inside of here. I have several variations while I produce the track. Every time I change something on kick and bass, I needed to re-render and put it here again. So yeah, like this is the final kick bass render. And I put it in here, connect the pitch range to the first macro. And in the FX, I have chorus, delay, and reverb. And everything is like connected to this macro. It might look complicated, but I have a dedicated full tutorial about it, so don't worry if you can't follow it. But yeah, I connect every different FX to one macro, including the pitch of the sample. And if I do that, I can get this cool FX. All I need to do is just put C5, which is the default tone, to the piano roll. And then all I need to do is automate this macro. So yeah, with this you can get a really cool LFO transition FX, and you can get more creative. You can put a different sound from your project, even some vocal sample, and you can apply the same chain, and it's gonna be really interesting LFO transition sound. And I just support it with giving Endless Smile is here when I'm removing the macro, when I'm getting close to the pre-drop. So that's all for the LFO Build Up. Other than that, I probably don't have anything in this section, just some FX like a sweep down, like impact. All I had was several FX sounds, and that's all. Now we can go to pre-drop, and let's check what sounds do I have in there. So first of all, I have this synth fill. So the synth fill is a preset from Medic's sample pack. It's just some ARP, and there's no crazy processing, just some saturation, some compression, some EQ, that's all. And other than that, we have the clap sample, which is panned left to the right, or right to the left, but you get the point. So we have this acid shot just before the drop hits. And other than that, the only thing I have is my main vocal sample, if I can find it. So again, I have a vocal, but I like to have a tail, a reverb tail that I reverse it, so it's preparing the audience to the sample that is coming.
Wake up, wake
So we are gonna get to vocal processing later. Now I think we can go to the drop. And yeah, let's go start with kick and bass. So I have 4 layers for the kick and bass. So the main kick is one of my signature kicks I've been making, like layering and experimenting. After I put the kick, I wasn't satisfied with it. I have some R bass, which is giving the fundamental sub frequency for C sharp, which was the main key of my track. As you see, I have a transient shaper to give more click on the kick. I have a buzz cut, which is just a clipper, just in case if I clip, it's gonna prevent it. Other than that, all I have is several EQs. So don't be afraid to use the EQ like that. I didn't EQ my kick as it is. I just EQ it on the context while I was finalizing the track actually. If you EQ the kick as it is, as solo, it doesn't make sense. It's not gonna fit the rest of the track. But if you just try to color your kick while you have your bass, your other elements, you can just fine tune it, color it, and get the best possibility for your rest of the sounds. Other than that, like I have a kick texture. So let me give it more volume so you can hear it more properly. So it's just adding a nice texture and like making the kick a bit more interesting. And let's see. So I have this sample as my main sub bass. It was original sound like that. But I like to just use it as my sub bass. And let's see which processing I did. I just colored and give tons of distortion with DST and just high cut, kill everything just to use the sub. And I have a limiter just to squeeze the sample a little bit more. And this is my sidechain preset. And as you see, like I have literally nothing in the very beginning of the beat because I don't like anything to crash my kick. Because like this sample is not actually just a sub bass, it's a kick and sub bass, a pre-made sample. But I don't like to use the very first part of it. I could cut it like that, but instead I just shape it with LFO tool and cut the very first hit. And with the kick it sounds like that. That was nice, but I needed some texture for the main bass, and I used this loop for the bass. It sounds like that. So for the processing, I have this crazy EQ. Don't ask me why it looks like that. It just works like that, so I don't overthink about it. Just EQ and sidechain, I have nothing else because the sample was already good. But as you see, I cut the side frequencies till the 600 Hz, which means the below that frequency is totally mono. If I play everything together, you get this beautiful, kick and bass layer. And other than that, I have some loop, like the texture. I like to put some texture, some crackling noise beneath my kick and bass, so it makes everything more interesting. And if we go to the drums, maybe we can just activate them one by one. I have these close heads. This rolling head. And this open head. And the right loop. I only use it in the ending of the drop. So those are my drums. Now I mostly use one-shots and build my own loops, but at that time when I produced the track, that samples just work perfectly together. And other than that, we have several bass shots. You already heard this acid shot in the pre-drop. And I have this hardstyle scratch sound as my drop fill. And I have this horn sound. So as I remember, this is a preset from Horizon Synth. I was shooting a test video while it came out. I still use several sounds inside of the synth since that synth is really rare. So yeah, most of my tracks I'm using that horn shot. It's really dark and fitting nice to the context. And other than that, let's see what do we have in here. Yeah, they are just some synth shot sounds that complementing and filling some frequencies. And beneath it, we have a white noise loop. First loop is like continuous. It's forever going on in the drop. But other than that, I have my main white noises. So one is this exhaust noise. And the next one is just helping us to get the vibe, get the rhythm. Listen it with the kick and bass. It will make much more sense. But before I go to the second part of the first drop, I like to use the same LFO trick, but kinda with the reverse. And that's why I just mute my kick and bass in that 4 bars. Again, I'm using the render, but this time I'm just doing the macro the opposite. So in here, the kick and bass first start playing with inside of the vital. And when I'm ending the first part of the first drop, I'm opening my macro and getting this amazing ear candy again. So if I just play it with the whole track, at least with whole kick and bass. So I don't like to do it too much. I use it only in LFO Build Up in the first part and inside of the first drop. But in the second drop, I didn't use that FX because I didn't want to bore the people with just same FX all the time. And other than that, yeah, I have this step. And let me check. And the main elements, the main lead was this plug sample. I find a sample on some of the Sennheiser loops, but I give it some auto-tune because that was kinda too detuned. I like to put it inside of my key more properly. And then I colored it with DST. And after that, I have some EQs, some stereo shaping. These are for automations. And other than that, I have reverb, just the usual preset. And an isotope trash in clip control. It makes everything more glued if you put it on end of the chain. But as you see, I'm not using it 100% wet. It's just some in sweet spot. And yeah, like without processing, it sounds like that. And also I have more processing on here. And this is the side chain for main plug. So without processing, it sounds like that. But with processing, And we can go to the second part of the drop. The only difference is like with more drums, I have an arpeggiated pattern in here. So for the drop ARP, let's see what I used. So it's a preset from, as I remember, one of the Oli James packs. I think there's nothing crazy. I don't even, change the parameters or disable the delay and reverb. I probably just use it as it is. I wrote my ARP pattern and all I did was just processing the sound. As usual, there's nothing crazy going on. And yeah, that's all for the ARP. For my main sounds, if you watch my channel for a while, you know my generic processing. Like I like to saturate or overdrive or distortion on the sound, then some EQ, then some delay reverb, and just compressing and sidechaining. I like to find the best sounds fitting best to the track, and then I like to keep the processing minimalistic. In here we have tons of automations going on. We are automating the macros inside of. So this is a cutoff filter. If you check. So if you want to have a moment in your tracks, in movement and variations on your sounds, don't hesitate to automate the macros. If they don't have macros, you can just create it by drag drop this empty macros. For example, in here probably it doesn't have, but I just drag drop it to cutoff, and now I can automate the cutoff with one button. And other than that, yeah, we have the reverb automations and we have the pitch automations to get more movement. And that's all for the first drop. Let's go to the break. Transition part from drop to break. I think we should cover the automations that I'm putting to the drums. If we go to the drum bass, so this is the processing and EQ. So I'm using this beat crusher and this filter and also the endless smile for washout effects. If I play all the drums, I'm just giving beat crush while I'm filtering the drums out. So it's always making the transitions much more smoother. And you see, like with this, the transitions are perfect from drop to break. And in the break, let's maybe start with vocals, because I think the vocals are pretty good in this track. It's pretty interesting. I find the vocals on Splice. There were several different vocals, but I just try to, order them and tell a story with the vocals I can find.
But have you ever thought, what if this is all just a dream? And we're just waiting in line to wake up.
So the vocals are really covering much more frequencies, much more space. And I achieve it by automating the wet knob inside of the delay plugin. I'm using the 8 as my time. So the delay kind of goes forever as long as I give the wetness on the plugin. That's pretty much it for the vocals. I have the auto tune to tune it really much. I like to have artificial vocals. And other than that, it's all about like compressing. And also, yeah, I use this Pitch Monster VST, which giving some characteristic to the sound, kind of making it more white. And I have the de-sync, the endless smile for automation purposes, and delay reverb, that's all. And yeah, I like to put a final compressor. In this case, I used RVox to the end of my vocal chain, which helps you to, glue every FX that you put into the channel. If you put a compressor as the last thing on the channel, it can glue everything. And yeah, this is the sidechain I'm using. That's all for the vocals. If we listen it with the respace.
But have you ever thought, what if this is all just a dream? And we're just waiting in line to wake up.
So the respace I'm using is nothing special, just one of the respace presets. And I have overdrive, EQ, only to make the lows mono. I'm using thermal, which can give a nice character and texture. This is the EQ. This is just a clipper, so I get more pumping and big bass. And that's all. This is the sidechain. When I have the kick in the break, I'm just activating it with automation. And maybe we can take a look for the break synths. Let's start with the ARP. So the ARP is a flex preset. That's my ARP pattern. I'm not sure how I made it, but yeah, as you see, I have my bass notes in here, my bass progression, and maybe I just write the chords, then try to make it ARP. Maybe I use the arpeggiato tool. I'm not quite sure. I always, give lots of time to make the perfect ARP and perfect fitting ARP pattern. So this came out some way. But for processing and automations, as you see, the ARP just taking the whole break and carrying it. And if you check the processing, I have the DST as usual to color and give saturation, some EQ for more coloring, some more EQ, a filter, some delay, some reverb, even the stock reverb, some OTT, the endless smile, and sidechain. Like the processing is always same on my tracks. If you find the perfect sounds, you don't need to do that much different stuff all the time. And yeah, as you see, I'm automating the filter cutoff. I'm automating several parameters on my ARP. Yeah, maybe we can take a listen while we are looking at the flex. Yeah, like in this case, I just automate the macro control internally in the flex. Yeah, this is what I always do when I find a cool sound. I like to customize and change the parameters. I don't like to use it as it is. And after that, we have the strings. So they are mostly supporting the overall break with the pads. Let's hear how it sounds. This pad is really subtle. It's way pushed to the back, but with the strings, they just complement each other. And in the next part of the break, I'm just putting a brass sound, which playing some counter top melody. As I remember, I find the brass while I was experimenting, while I was listening the section. So it sounds like that. All I did was making the break just like a ladder. If I put the brass in here and put the choir in here, you will see like we are starting with strings, then we have pad, then we have brass, then in the next part we have the choir. And the ARP is continuously following everything. And we have the respace going on all the time. And maybe we can take a look to the choir. Then I'm gonna play everything and want to show you the harmony. Okay, before I play everything, I think last thing as I see, I have the horn sound. So this only playing the bass notes as the respace, just giving some more texture and power. And if you listen them like that, I'm not gonna play the ARP so you can hear the background stuff more clearly. Yeah, like I'm building everything as a ladder. It helped me to create the tension. And in the build up, I'm just making the transition, but we are gonna get to that. So other than that, I have just the generic sounds, sweep up, sweep down, some impacts. And we have some different texture sounds to get some theme, some story, some character to the break section. Yeah, this sample just fits perfectly. And other than that, I have this vocal shot. As you see, I tried to fill the gaps, the empty parts with some synth shots, some samples, which can complete the sentences of the break. I hope that makes sense. And beneath it, we have some ambiatic background sounds. And this is, I think, all the break sounds. So in the second build up, actually, I don't have anything special. It's just same sounds that I have in the break, such as the kick drum. So I'm just fading it out. And other than that, I still have the drums in the break, but I'm just fading them out. As you see, I'm fading in my new drop lead while I'm fading out the respace, the pads, the everything, the ARP, strings, everything I have in the break section. I'm just doing that with tons of automations. This kind of big room techno tracks, you need tons of automations and you need movement on your all of the sounds. After that, we have a cool pre-drop section.
Wake up. 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 Wake up.
So this is the drop lead I'm using. It's actually a sample, but I just processed and changed it really much. It sounds like that without processing. But I just transform it something like that. So maybe we can go check one by one. First, I put a dimension expander. This is a free plugin and it can help you to have a really wide track. And it's a really good stereo imaging plugin. I have Camel Crusher. Like I'm giving it tons of FX, tons of distortion. And other than that, I have some coloring EQ, some more EQ. So this is for only giving the bit crash effect on certain parts. And this is the delay reverb that I'm using. And some OTT to glue everything. And I have isotope trash. So it's really similar with the first drop lead. But yeah, it's going to next channel. And in that channel, I have just a small boost. Some sounds, especially the leads, the vocals are not cutting through the mix. You can try to boost 8K till 13K. You can find the sweet spot. I have a sidechain. So this sidechain only helped the first hit of the kick, the transient to pass through. So it makes them not clash. And the next sidechain, I'm having this. So with this, I just get this weird vibe, on the lead. And yeah, that's all for the lead. Maybe we can take a listen it with the kick and bass. And if you see, like I have some extra bass moment in the second drop. So which sounds like that. I get a kick, made it reverse and do it like that. And I put a tom in here. So it just gives me a really cool weird FX on the drop. And if you just play it like that. The reason I'm using an extra tom in the second drop, because I don't have a rolling bass in the second drop. I'm just starting with kick bass and this weird tom FX. So in the second part, I'm reverting it back to rolling bass. But yeah, in the first part of the second drop, it's totally different kick and bass. Other than that, most of the things are same. If we go check them out, yeah, they are just same sounds. The only difference is a Niv lead. And I think this hover is Niv. So if you check the sound, it's made by Silent. And it's giving a nice energy and tension to the second drop. All I did was to automate the pitch. Other than that, it's just a basic soft patch. And yeah, the last thing I can show you is this little synth shot. I'm using it as a fill synth, fill lead. And it's routing to same channel as my drop lead. So they together sound like that. And I'm starting my second drop with my new leads, but in the second part of it, I'm just bringing back the first drop plugs because I think in the outro, it makes sense if you just put everything all in before ending the track. Let's check them. Yeah, this time in the ending, we even have another lead. Let me show how it sounds without processing. Just a basic, synth shot, but with the processing. So even with this, the ending is kind of different than the beginning. And I think the last thing I have is this sound. It's fading in. I like to use it on the outro. It's just, as it is, it doesn't make sense, but in the track, it's just giving a really nice texture and taste. If we listen everything, it sounds like that. Yeah guys, the track sounds like that. So it's really complicated track and there are so much stuff going on. I hope I didn't miss anything. If you still have questions, you can always write in the comment section. I will try to reply all of them. I hope you can apply this to your own productions too. Today that was it guys. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video. Bye bye.